I'm a 50-year-old guy from Phoenix, Arizona, and I need to tell you about the most satisfying revenge I've ever gotten. This is gonna be long, but trust me, the payoff at the end is absolutely worth it. Growing up, my parents were straight up toxic. Dad was a construction worker who blew every paycheck on booze and casino gambling. Mom waited tables at Denny's, and they'd scream at each other every single night about money. I'm talking full-blown Jerry Springer-level fights. Dad would literally smash furniture when he got mad enough. When I was 12, Mom finally had enough and just left. Dad remarried this absolute witch named Sandra who hated my guts. She'd slap me around when Dad wasn't home and barely fed me. I counted down the days until I could get out of that house. Well, I got my wish sooner than expected. When I was 17, Dad wrapped his truck around a telephone pole coming home drunk from a casino. Sandra had taken out a $300K life insurance policy on him that I didn't even know about. The day after the funeral, I came home from school to find she'd moved out and taken everything. She literally left a teenage kid homeless and penniless. I had to drop out of high school and started working construction just to survive. But here's where my luck changed. I met this older guy named Mike who took me under his wing and taught me plumbing. Spent the next 10 years learning the trade, getting my certifications, and by age 30, I was running jobs for Mike's company. This is where Sarah comes into the story. I was working on a big apartment renovation project in Tempe, and there's a 7-Eleven near our job site where I'd grab beer after work. Sarah was working the night shift there, and man, she was beautiful. Not just pretty, but she had this smile that could light up the whole store. Started going there every day just to see her. It took me 3 months to work up the courage to ask her out, but when I did, she said yes immediately. Went to this little park, shared a 6-pack of Coors Light, and talked till sunrise. Sarah's story broke my heart. Her parents died in a car crash when she was 10, and her piece of shit relatives dumped her in foster care. She aged out at 18 with basically nothing and had worked in dead-end jobs ever since. She'd even been sexually assaulted by a restaurant manager when she was 19. This girl had been through hell, but somehow still had the sweetest, most optimistic personality. We fell hard for each other. Within 6 months, we were living together in this little rental house, and a year later, she was pregnant with our daughter, Emma. Right around when Sarah hit her second trimester, Mike landed this massive contract in Kuwait, oil pipeline construction that would pay more money than I'd ever seen. 3-year commitment, but the money was insane. We're talking $180,000 total after expenses, enough to buy a house and start Sarah's dream of opening her own coffee shop. I didn't want to leave my pregnant girlfriend, but Sarah pushed me to take it. "Babe, this is our shot," she said. "I've been taking care of myself my whole life. 3 years and we'll be set. I'll have the baby, and when you get back, we can start our real life together." I should have married her before I left, but everything happened so fast. We were young and figured we'd make it official when I got back. Kuwait was brutal. 120-degree heat, working 12-hour days, living in basically a prison camp with a bunch of other American contractors. The only thing that kept me sane was video calling Sarah and watching little Emma grow up on my phone screen. Every penny of my salary went straight to Sarah. Mike handled the wire transfers, and Sarah confirmed every month that the money was coming through. I was planning our whole future, the house we'd buy, the coffee shop we'd open together, maybe even more kids. I lived like a monk for 3 years, counting down the days until I could hold my girls again. When I finally landed at Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix, Sarah wasn't there to pick me up. That should have been my first clue. I took a cab to our house and found it completely empty. Not just empty, cleaned out. Even the furniture was gone. I found Mrs. Rodriguez, our elderly neighbor who had been helping watch Emma. The sweet old lady was in tears when she saw me. Me? Oh, I'm so sorry. Sarah, she's been gone for months. She left Emma with me and just disappeared. My 3-year-old daughter didn't even recognize me. Mrs. Rodriguez told me the whole story. About 6 months after I left, Sarah started going out at night, leaving Emma with her. Then she started bringing home different men. Finally, she moved this guy named Derek into our house, and they lived there for over a year while I would busted my ass in the desert. When it got close to my return date, Sarah told Mrs. Rodriguez she had a family emergency and needed her to watch Emma for just a few days. That was 4 months ago. She'd taken every cent of the $180,000 I'd earned and vanished. I'm not gonna lie, I considered just walking away. I was 35, broke, and suddenly a single dad to a toddler who was afraid of me. But looking at Emma, I knew I couldn't abandon her like everyone had abandoned me. I threw myself into work. Mike felt terrible about what happened and gave me a management position. Over the next 10 years, we grew the company into one of the biggest commercial plumbing contractors in Arizona. I became a partner. Then when Mike had his heart attack at 60, I bought him out completely. Raising Emma alone was the hardest thing I've ever done. She was angry and distant for years, always asking where Mommy was. I couldn't bring myself to tell a little kid that her mother had abandoned her, so Emma grew up thinking it was somehow my fault that Mommy was gone. When Emma hit middle school, it got worse. She'd lock herself in a room, barely speak to me, and I could see the pain in her eyes every day. I got us into family therapy, and the therapist told me Emma blamed me for driving her mother away. That nearly broke me, but I kept working, kept building the business, kept hoping that someday Emma would understand. By the time Emma was in high school, my company, Rodriguez & Sons Plumbing, I named it after Mrs. Rodriguez, who basically raised Emma, was doing $3 million a year in revenue. We had contracts with half the major construction companies in Phoenix. And that's when Derek Morrison's company started targeting us. Derek Morrison. Yeah, you guessed it, the same Derek who'd been living in my house with my money while I was in Kuwait. I didn't know it was him at first, just knew that this competitor was playing dirty, undercutting our bids with impossible prices, then spreading rumors that we were about to go bankrupt. Morrison Construction would shadow every job we bid on, somehow always knowing our prices, and then submit bids exactly $1,000 lower. When we still won jobs based on reputation, they'd call our clients and tell them we were using undocumented workers or cutting safety corners. I tried taking the high road for months, but this asshole was trying to destroy everything I had built. So I called him directly. Look, Morrison, I don't know what your problem is with my company, but this needs to stop. There's enough work in Phoenix for both of us. His response? Business is war, buddy. If you can't handle the heat, go back to whatever rock you crawled under of. I'm gonna bury you. Fast forward 2 more years. Emma's a senior in high school, finally starting to warm up to me a little bit. I'm making good money, but working 80-hour weeks trying to stay ahead of Morrison's sabotage. Then comes the Arizona Contractors Association annual banquet. Big fancy event where all the construction company owners bring their wives and network. Almost didn't go, but Emma convinced me I needed to get out more. I'm at the bar when I hear this laugh behind me. A laugh I hadn't heard in 15 years but would recognize anywhere. I turn around, and there she is, Sarah. She's wearing a designer dress that probably costs more than most people's rent, diamond earrings, perfect blonde highlights, and she's handing on the arm of Derek Morrison. My ex-girlfriend had married my biggest business competitor. The woman who stole my life savings and abandoned our daughter had used my money to help this asshole start the company that had been trying to destroy me for years. I waited until Derek went to schmooze some city officials, then cornered Sarah by the appetizer table. "Hello, Sarah." She went white as a sheet. For a second, she looked like she might faint. Then she glanced around, probably looking for Derek. I didn't know you'd be here. I bet you didn't. Nice dress. Did you buy it with my money? Look, that was a long time ago. We weren't even married. Legally, you can't. Legally? Legally? I was trying to keep my voice down, but I was shaking with rage. You took $180,000 that I earned working in hell for 3 years. You abandoned our daughter, our 3-year-old daughter, Sarah. That's when she showed me who she really was. I didn't abandon anyone. I left her with a babysitter and you came back. It's your kid, your responsibility. And that money, you gave it to me. I never stole anything. She looked me dead in the eye and said, I found someone better. Deal with it. I went home that night and told Emma everything, every detail about what her mother had done, why she'd really left, how I'd been trying to protect her from the truth all these years. Emma cried for about an hour, then looked at me and said, Dad, I'm so sorry. I thought you made her leave because you were mean to her or something. I've been such a bitch to you. You weren't a bitch, sweetheart. You were a kid who missed her mom. But now you know the truth. What are we going to do about it? Smart kid. Takes after her old man. I hired the best family law attorney in Phoenix. The challenge was proving that Sarah and I had been in a common law marriage, which would make her theft of marital assets and abandonment of Emma actionable even after 15 years. The key evidence? Mrs. Rodriguez, who had witnessed our relationship and kept meticulous records of when Sarah left Emma with her, bank records showing all my overseas pay going into an account Sarah controlled, and the DNA test that would prove Emma was Sarah's biological daughter, something Sarah had been denying to Derek for years apparently. Sarah lawyered up hard when she got served, tried to claim we were never in a relationship, that Emma wasn't her kid, that I was some kind of stalker. We had her. Mrs. Rodriguez, now 78, hobbled into that courtroom with a box of photos, calendars, and notes documenting everything. Emma, now 18 and fierce as hell, testified about the day her mother disappeared. Bank records don't lie, and when the DNA results came back 99.97% match, Sarah's lawyers basically gave up. But here's where it gets beautiful. The publicity from the court case spread through Phoenix's tight-knit construction community like wildfire. Everyone learned that Derek Morrison had built his company with stolen money from a deployed contractor and that he'd been married to a woman who abandoned her toddler. Within 6 months of the verdict, I won $340,000 in damages plus interest. Morrison Construction went bankrupt. Within 8 months, Derek had to sell the house he'd bought with my money, and last I heard, he was doing handyman work in Tucson. Sarah tried to squeeze money out of him in their divorce, but you can't get blood from a stone. She ended up working at a nail salon in Scottsdale, driving a 10-year-old Honda. Meanwhile, Emma started her freshman year at ASU studying business, paid for it with the judgment money. She works part-time at my office and has turned into an incredible young woman, smart, strong, and nothing like her mother. Mike, my old mentor, who taught me plumbing, beat his heart problems and came back as a company advisor. At 65, he started dating this wonderful woman he met in cardiac rehab, and they're getting married next month. Rodriguez & Sons Plumbing is now the biggest commercial contractor in Arizona, with 50 employees and $8 million in annual revenue. Emma's going to take over the business side when she graduates. And me? I decided I'm good with just Emma and me for now. She's everything I need. Look, I'm not saying I'm proud of destroying someone's business and marriage, but Sarah made her choices 15 years ago when she decided to steal from a deployed soldier and abandon a toddler. Derek made his choices when he decided to build a business with stolen money and then try to destroy the man he'd already robbed. They had 15 years to do the right thing. They could have reached out, made amends, paid back what they stole voluntarily. Instead, they doubled down on being pieces of shit. Sometimes the universe has a way of balancing the scales. Sometimes it just takes a really long time. Justice served, ice cold. Update. A lot of people are asking about Emma's relationship with her mother now. Sarah tried reaching out after the judgment, wanting to rebuild their relationship. Translation, she wanted Emma to feel sorry for her. Emma told her, and I quote, "I had a childhood full of wondering why Mommy didn't love me enough to stay. Now I know she just didn't love me, period. I don't need that energy in my life. My daughter is savage, and I couldn't be prouder." Update 2. Derek Morrison tried commenting on this post. His account got deleted pretty quick. For anyone wondering, yes, this is all verifiable public record in Maricopa County Superior Court. Case number available to anyone who wants to look it up. The truth doesn't need to hide. Thanks for reading. Sometimes the good guy actually wins.